This is the cheapest Wear OS smartwatch ever and packs a handful of features at the amazing price of around $112 right now. GPS, Google Assistant, waterproofness, and if someone calls you, you can't apparently take the call from the watch, sadly. Let's figure out how far the budget Wear OS smartwatches made it in 2019. Welcome everyone, I'm Michael and I'm pleased to welcome you to the channel. Smartwatches are often being reviewed here, and for the last couple of years I've tested almost every awesome and rather affordable smartwatch out there. 10 months ago I've inspected the Ticwatch S2, which was released together with the E2, and there has been a lot of hype surrounding them both. The E2 is the cheapest Wear OS smartwatch designed ever, and while it originally retails at $160, you can find some discounts, and often Mobvoi dropped the price down by 30%. This makes it way more affordable than the $250 Huawei Watch GT2, the Amazfit Stratos 2, and even the original Amazfit Verge, and it is significantly cheaper than most other Wear OS smartwatches. In this video, I'd like to show you all its significant features, or the lack of such, and we will figure out whether it is worth the money. A few months back, after testing the S2, I've simply returned it to Mobvoi because it was unimpressive. Now, the even cheaper model is in focus. Two disclaimers from my side. The watch was kindly sent to me by Mobvoi for testing, and as usual, I'm free to say anything about the watch, so this review will be as honest as possible and based on my own thoughts. And also, you probably know that I'm not a great fan of Wear OS watches, but gonna pace this out for the next few minutes. Okay, now we know where the Ticwatch E is positioned on the market, so let's explore the hardware, and we begin by unboxing it. Looks good. This is typical for Mobvoi smartwatches. Generally, they are famous for packing a lot of greatness in rather small price. Of course, there's no way the E2 to be as good as the Ticwatch Flagship called the Pro. First obvious fact, the watch is very plastic. I know that some people will appreciate the lack of any symbols around the dial, and for sure keeping this clean design is a good idea, and this bump surrounding the display acts as a good protection layer in addition to the Gorilla Glass. But certainly the build quality is something that we could criticize. A few months ago I've explored the Amazfit Verge, which many of you have referred to as a toy, and the feeling here is not much different. In fact, I believe that the Verge felt better to the touch. The band here is nice, a bit stiff compared to the band on the Watch GT series, but I can't say it feels bad. Having worn the watch as much as possible for the last few weeks, no serious complaints from my side. There's only one button, and of course a beautiful 1.39-inch vibrant AMOLED display. Mobvoi have always been good for their screens, and while AMOLED is not too fantastic being visible outdoors, it still is fine for indoor usage, and sometimes visible if you have the right watch face. Looks like those of them with large, wide digits are better for daylight. Underneath the display, we see a 30% growth of the battery capacity, a Snapdragon 2100 processor, and 512 MB RAM, and also 4 GB of storage, out of which more than 2 GB are available for storing files. Clearly, the hardware is not superb. CPU released back in 2016, and not sufficient RAM, not even Bluetooth 5, which slowly becomes a standard. But we can't put the blame on Ticwatch, because the E2 is the obvious attempt of the company to bring on the market a Wear OS device that is finally affordable. The great add-on for this second generation is the water resistance. You can swim with it, and it has a microphone. However, there is no speaker, which means that you cannot make phone calls from the watch. And I guess knowing the hardware, we've set the expectations for the software and performance, which we know is based on Wear OS. This is the smartwatch edition of Android, and perhaps the main reason for the huge success of Apple Watch, simply because the Cupertino-developed technology has no real competition at the moment. While the Wear OS drawbacks are well known and widely discussed, the only major thing that Google did in the past years is changing the name, and a few months ago acquiring Fitbit. Will that change anything? We're gonna find in the next few months and years, and let's hope for the best. Now, 512 MB are already a little tight on providing resources for comfortable operation. The more serious limiting factor is the performance of the CPU, and you can notice the usual Wear OS lags. Yes, other smartwatches also show imperfections while scrolling, but if we put the Ticwatch side by side with the way more basic Watch GT by Huawei, you're gonna probably vote in favor of the Huawei's device in terms of responsiveness, especially if it comes to loading apps, and the latter one has only 32 megabytes of RAM. Anyhow, few words about the user experience. The single button opens the app drawer, and it can be used as a home button too. By default, the long press activates Google Assistant. Since I'm not used to it, I can't say how good it handles your requests, but seems to understand speech and acts based on your requirements, although just have a look at what a mess Google Assistant could be in this scenario. Call Victor. Usually, playing with some permissions, it will get fixed, but let's admit that this kind of behavior is quite annoying and it will make a lot of people thinking that the feature doesn't really work here. Since there is no speaker, reading the display is your only communication channel. Setting up is easy, and Ticwatch are kind enough to provide a set of good watch faces. You will find the usual amount of default apps. Most of them are typically part of the stock distribution of Wear OS, Play Store, weather, timer, stopwatch. And since we have Play Store, there are a lot of extra apps that you can add. Ticwatch have specially developed framework for fitness tracking, Tic Health, Tic Pulse, and Tic Exercise. There only are a few exercises available that you can call, but I guess the freestyle allows you to be a little bit more creative and use it in case your favorite sport is not listed. You can luckily count on Strava, which, unlike the very popular Watch GT, has good integration with Wear OS. Generally, while there are some tracking capabilities, I cannot say this is a great sports watch, and so far the Wear OS intention has never been to. The heart rate gets detected only if you request that from the Tic Pulse app or if you depress the corresponding location on the watch face. And there is no sleep tracking, unfortunately, or at least nothing that is useful. Most of the time, the watch will last through the day, but if you sleep with it, and if always on display is enabled, it won't make it until the morning. So the originally advertised 2 days of battery life are possible if you do not wear during the night, and if you're quite battery savvy during the daytime. Most of the charging cycles, I managed to get around a day of battery life with always on screen and the second level of brightness out of 5. And this is very poor compared to my current favorites, Watch GT by Huawei, where it will last around a week with always on display, continuous tracking of heart rate and stress levels, and you can make phone calls on top of that. But we've said this already, these are two very different worlds, because Ticwatch offers a lot more smartness and the ability to get more apps. What comes as an extra disadvantage on the Ticwatch is the lack of ambient sensor, so there is no auto brightness mode. Here's a feature which other more basic operating systems find it hard to replicate. This is the calendar feature, and if you have a lot of appointments and you want to somewhat control your calendar from the watch, this is finally something Ticwatch can help you with. A minute for a short summary. I've seen plenty of ridiculously sounding reviews and titles for the E2, like the best wear watch for fitness, almost the perfect smartwatch, or the $150 smartwatch killer. Come on! If we have to be objective, almost a year after its official launch, the E2 is still the most affordable Wear OS smartwatch, and I think it's perfect if you want to find out whether this operating system is suitable to you. Strong sides: the waterproofness, the app support, the microphone and therefore Google Assistant, and the price. But looking at the drawbacks, battery life, which is unfortunately not satisfactory, and that's mostly thanks to Wear OS, the build quality, which matches the title, entry level, and while performance is sort of alright, 512 megabytes are not enough for such a device in 2020. And if we think of the lack of NFC, speaker, Bluetooth 5 and ambient sensor, the equation becomes too complicated. So, at the end, do you think it is worth getting the E2? Or you would prefer to go for the Ticwatch Pro? Do you think Google will finally do something drastic to Wear OS? Would be great to hear from you. Make sure to leave a comment in the section below the video. Support the channel by using the links to each one of the devices shown, shared in the description below, together with the best discounts I've found. And if you like the video, hopefully you're gonna become a subscriber. Thank you a lot and see you around.